There has been a lot of chatter about draft prospect quarterback Shedeur Sanders and what is going to happen with him in the draft. I'm here to let New Orleans Saints fans, this is your dream scenario if Shedeur Sanders slides in this year's NFL draft. I'm going to talk about it and break it all down right after this.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby. So if you're tuned in with me today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. Man, draft is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. And y'all already know what time it is. It is lion season around the entire NFL. You're going to hear things that are absolutely crazy. You're going to see mock drafts to where trades are absolutely crazy. But one thing that we know is not crazy is all that chatter that keep coming out about Shedeur Sanders. Well, I guess it is a bit crazy. And I say, hey, let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may. I say that, hey, it looks like the Titans are going to go ahead and go with Cam Ward at number one. I personally feel like if you're the Cleveland Browns, you can't bank on Kenny Pickens and Deshaun Watson, but they're going to rest on their laurels, try to justify their decision, and they most likely are going to stick with Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett. Me personally, I looked at the New York Giants and I said, hey, you still can go out there and get a young, talented quarterback like Shedeur Sanders that you don't necessarily have to start right away now that you have a Jameis Winston and a Russell Wilson on the team. But it looks like some of those thoughts are starting to change. According to Diana Rossini, she pretty much saying that the temperature around Shedeur Sanders have changed over the last few weeks. She's one of the best in the game. And she said this: there was a time that I felt really strong that the Giants wanted Shedeur as their top pick. Then I was getting a sense that there was a shift in a little bit. I don't really think that means that they're not going to draft a quarterback. I just think now the draft becomes super interesting with what the Giants are going to do if they decide to go best player available. And that's been some rumblings about Abdul Carter if he slides, Travis Hunter if he's there, things like that that have been brewing up for, several teams that are at the top of the draft and some of the teams that really need quarterbacks. So it is what it is. And then just recently, Adam Schefter, another good NFL insider, even though he bounced around for multiple things these last few days, because again, it is lion season. But he flat out just said right now, couple weeks out, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going number two. End quote. He said a little bit more, but that's the only part you should care about. That's his quote, though. But I say all this to say, this is a dream scenario for the New Orleans Saints. We heard the chatter. We heard that teams are not being high on them. Maybe, immediately as the combine was ending, you're hearing anonymous offensive coaches talking about that he came off a bit arrogant. He came out a bit cocky. And my rebuttal to that was, name a quarterback that's not arrogant or cocky. Name one that believes in their talent. You can't. And if somebody got one got one for me that I'm not thinking about, drop it in the comment box below and we can have that discussion. But I look at some of the greats that have played this. They got some arrogance to them. They got some butthole to them. You know what I'm saying? You got your Tom Brady's, your Peyton Mannings, and your Drew Breeses, and your Dan Marinos, and your Phillip Rivers, and your Lamar Jacksons, and your Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Yeah, most of these guys are humble, confident guys. But you can't tell me that these guys don't have some type of arrogance to some of the things that they have done or some of the things they have said. So they can miss me with that. But I think this is a great opportunity for the New Orleans Saints. If he falls, draft Shedeur Sanders. If you're the New Orleans Saints, here's why. First and foremost, you just got yourself a Kellen Moore in the building. This is a young, good to great offensive mind who has had a lot of success as being a coordinator throughout this league. I think he is a former quarterback. He's well polished up until this point, and he deserves a fair shot to prove if he's a good head coach now. We know he's a good to great offensive coordinator. Let's see if he can prove himself to see if he can be a good head coach. I think the best way to go about this is to find somebody that you can pair yourself up with who is good in the pocket, who may not be the most athletic outside of the pocket, but can manipulate the pocket, who has good accuracy going down the field and short into intermediate routes. So explore that option. So if Shedeur does slide, dream scenario for the New Orleans Saints, hey, Kellen Moore, go and get your quarterback of the future, because Derek Carr is not the quarterback of the future for the New Orleans Saints. The stats speak for themselves. This man has played 9 seasons in Oakland and 2 seasons in New Orleans. Only 3 seasons above 500, y'all. Only 3 seasons above 500, y'all. And I understand it, man. I understand it. The AFC West during his tenure there was brutal. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't always brutal. he was there before Pat Mahomes got there. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't always beautiful or tough. And he still wasn't able to get things done. Now you could blame some of the GM decisions over there, some of the other moves that they made while he was over there, some of the backdoor stuff that they did at the latter part of his tenure with the Oakland Raiders. You know what I'm saying? Getting Devontae Adams and then trading them away. You know what I'm saying? We understand that it wasn't completely perfect, but I've seen a lot of good to great quarterbacks make some things shake. And throughout his career, only one playoff appearance, just one, and you lost in a bad way? Nah, the stat speaks for itself. This is a C plus quarterback right here. Maybe B on a good day, but he's not the long-term future. You know what I'm saying? And then all this nonsense that's starting to come out about Shedeur nowadays, talking about he's patting the ball. Look, I'm no quarterback. I'm no quarterback, but I've seen plenty of good quarterbacks go out there and pat the ball. The thing is can you get the timing down? Can you help coach this young fella to taking another step forward? This guy has went down to Jackson State, transformed the organization, went over there in cold ass Colorado, transformed the program. And I ain't saying that he went out there and won these crazy national championships, because we know that wouldn't be true. But what did happen is that there is no teammate that has ever spoke out about him and didn't say that he was ready to play or didn't work his tail off. There was no unnecessary drama, at least that we heard of, that took place in the locker room to where he was so cocky or so arrogant, he took away from the team. And this is coming at a time to where his father is prime time. Prime time. And he said it the best. Go watch the film. And the film ain't all gonna look beautiful. There will be some mishaps in there. There will be some missteps that you're gonna be able to pinpoint and be like, nah, Shedeur, you shouldn't have did that, or nah, Shedeur, you held the ball too long. But let's call a spade a spade. Was that offensive line in Colorado that damn good? No. They were still early in the building process over there in Colorado, to where we all know if you want to have good quarterback play, you need good protection. Like it ain't too many scenarios you're gonna see a beat up offensive line like in Cincinnati when Joe Burrow took them to the championship. All those injuries that offensive line dealt with, you're not gonna see too many of those scenarios. You're gonna see more scenarios how Patrick Mahomes, one of my favorite players, how he got whooped in both of his Super Bowl losses because of the offensive line. You gotta have protection. You gotta have protection at every level of football. At least, maybe not high school so much, but you still gotta have something. You gotta have time to get the ball out of your hands, to build that confidence to where you are able to execute said plays. And I've seen this young fella play countless games, and he's always risen to the occasion, and is always battling back, even when his team is down multiple touchdowns. We've seen those moments. We've seen the competitiveness. We've seen how teams and players galvanize around him. And there's always some other guys trying to take shots at him because simply who he is. But you cannot deny the talent. And I'm not coming out here to say he's a generational talent. I'm just saying that if you are the New Orleans Saints, you need to be trying to get Kellen Moore into the right situation for years to come, because you don't want to revisit this same head coaching situation 3 years, 4 years down the road. Give him somebody to where he can come in, doesn't have to start right away. You allow him to learn the system, allow him to get coached up to where maybe the patting the ball is not seen or viewed as a detriment to his game. I don't think it's going to hinder him much. It could be an issue if his timing is not right. But if you draft him right now with Derek Carr still taking a him, you use Derek Carr as the bridge and Shedeur can slide right in next season or later in this upcoming season when you're like, all right, Derek Carr, we done with you, bro. I think it make perfect sense. And Shedeur Sanders even is entertaining the idea of becoming the New Orleans Saint and pretty much saying, hey, quote, I think Kellen Moore, he's a great coach. I also think I watched him a little bit in college. We were so young that I didn't know that was that. But then when I looked him up and did the research, I was like, dang, he did everything I'm trying to accomplish in life. So he knows the recipe. And a lot of people who have played the position understands that point of view versus just a different point of view, end quote. It makes total sense to me. So if the Giants want to go out there and be bozos, the Cleveland Browns want to continue to just bank on Deshaun Watson, allow them to do so. But if you are the New Orleans Saints, you draft Shedeur Sanders if he falls to 9. It's the dream scenario. I understand that there are going to be some New Orleans Saints fans that enter this chat and say, we want Tyler Warren. I like Tyler Warren. But Tyler Warren can't throw to himself, y'all. He can't throw to himself. You got some decent skill positions out there. You know what I'm saying? You got you a Chris Olave. You got you a Alvin Kamara, some pieces to work with. And you go and get you a young quarterback that you can move forward with. And to hell, who knows? You can move later in the draft and maybe grab another tight end that may be available for you. Grab another wide receiver in the later rounds that can go out there and help you sustain some type of success. Because if we call it what it really is, Derek Carr has played in the NFC South. It's not the worst division, but it ain't the strongest either. that's the point. It's not the strongest division. And Derek Carr, he could have had every opportunity to get the Saints closer and closer to being eventual division champions potentially, or even just trying to creep up by beating those teams within his division to give yourself a chance at a wild card spot. That didn't happen. And it hasn't happened a lot throughout his career. And this is not a Derek Carr crap session, but it's just looking at the reality on how the New Orleans Saints can move forward and potentially get back to being a good playoff team, to being that team that we remember in that black and gold, that go out there and tough defense, solid offense, good passing quarterback. And my man Steve-O said it, and I don't think it's right out the realm. We're not saying this as him being a de facto guy. But Steve-O's comparison was, hey, he can stand in the pocket like a Drew Brees. You know what I'm saying? He can operate from the pocket like a Drew Brees. His game is not predicated on athleticism outside of the pocket. We're not saying he's Drew Brees. Don't get your panties in a hunch. We're just saying from the pocket standpoint, this is one of those quarterbacks that's coming into this draft who game is predicated on playing from the pocket, something that's necessary when a young quarterback enters the NFL. So look, one last proclamation for my New Orleans Saint fans out there. If Shedeur falls to 9, you should draft Shedeur Sanders. If he falls to 9, draft Shedeur Sanders. Otherwise, y'all gonna be ticked off right again. Because Derek Carr, he's not the future. He's not. Go get you somebody that could be a part of your future for years and years and years to come. But hey, that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. We are the #1 spot for everything NFL. So before y'all get up out of here, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. And let me know your thoughts down below. Let's chop it up. Let's see where we go with this conversation. But that's it, y'all. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.